The Duralf decision is over. I look at this more as, is the funding system better now than it was in 1991 when I started working on it? And I think clearly it is. That when we first started, there was no method for determining what the base cost of an adequate education is. That's the primary building block for starting any school funding formula, is knowing what the average cost of educating a typical kid in a typical district is. And back in 1991, we had no methodology whatsoever of how to do that. The General Assembly would just meet and they'd deliberate and balance their priorities and determine this is how much we are willing to provide for education, how much we can afford within the state budget, but there was no judgment about here's how much is needed. And now, 22 years later, we've been through at least 4 different methodologies for how to figure that out. We still can't agree on one, but at least there's an understanding that we need to understand what the costs are, how much money needs to be in the system for different types of districts who serve different types of kids. Our funding system is better, and our educational outcomes are better now than they were 20 years ago. I think that, are they still where they need to be? Neither one is where they need to be, but we're clearly better off than we were.
All right, how will we know when we've hit success?
I think that's a good question. Ultimately, success is getting all 1.7 million kids in this state graduating from high school with good job prospects. And Ohio, because of how diverse a state it is, has as extreme inequities as just about anywhere in the country. We have wealthy suburbs, we have poor rural areas, we have sprawl.
We have sprawl.
Yeah, we have sprawl. We have a lot of urban areas, a lot of rural areas, a lot of suburban areas. And so it creates a higher degree of difficulty in coming up with a funding formula that works for all those different circumstances.
Right.
For schools, we vote on school levies much more than anybody else in the country, and that's because of the way our property tax works. And because of House Bill 920 doesn't allow any inflationary growth, and because inflation applies to school spending like it does to other things, we have to go back to the ballot in lots of districts every 3-4 years, and I think we're at a point where the term people use is voter fatigue.
Yes.
People are tired of being asked to pay more for schools and other services just because they've been asked so many times. Whether you look at it per capita or you look at it as a percent of personal income, when you look at our state and total taxes together, we're typically in the middle. We're usually between 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, right around the middle. When you separate our taxes, you can see that there's a big imbalance, that our state taxes were typically around 35th, 36th, 37th, with 1 being the highest. And our local taxes were usually in the top 10. We're somewhere 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, right? Yeah. And so we, for a variety of reasons, our local tax burden is higher than the national average. Our state tax burden is lower than the national average, right? So we have income taxes we have income taxes for municipalities and villages. We have income taxes for schools.
Yeah.
We have sales taxes at the county level and for transit and other special authorities.
And at the state level.
We have property, at the state level. We have property taxes for schools and other local services, of which we have a lot of local services.
And we have like 3,500 special districts running around this state.
We do. We have, I think the number of taxing districts is over 4,000. So we have 600 school districts, 88 counties, and
900,
3,000 and something. We have 300 libraries. We have 1,500 townships.
900 villages and cities.
Right. We
must love government because we have so much of it. We just don't want to pay for it.
I think that's a true statement. We like local control is what we like, but the cost of local control is that you have to pay for it. And so, I think when because of our structure, we have a lot of, just the number of jurisdictions and taxes is high, and our local tax burden is high. Our state tax burden is actually in the bottom third.
It's modest.
And, so I mean, to me, it's ironic that the tax we've been cutting the most aggressively is the one at the state level. You could probably make an argument that if we wanted to cut an income tax, it ought to be the municipal income tax.
Yeah.
The perception is that we're more highly taxed than we actually are, and I think the reality is we just have a lot more taxes that we pay than people in other states do. I had several elementary schools where the turnover rate of the students
65?
was over 100%.
Oh, gosh.
Right, so if you started with 200 kids, you would have, and you counted how many kids moved in and out by the end of the school year, it would be more than 200 kids moved in and out. Some of them would be there, but you'd have some, if you think about seats in the classroom, some of those seats would have 3 different kids in them over the course of a year. And so how do you teach in an environment that's that unstable? The reality is it's too much work to actually go through life the way economists theorize that people go through life.
Right.
And so most of us, work on some sort of habit, autopilot, set of behaviors, things that we're comfortable with.